They underestimated him. Now the city knows exactly who Julian St. Clair really is. The city never sleeps. Julian St. Clair knew that more than most. The neon glow of Times Square reflected off his office windows as he stared down at the streets below, glass of whiskey in hand. From the 42nd floor of the Mercer Tower, he could see the veins of the city pulsating, taxis weaving like blood cells, people scuttling like insects, oblivious to the chaos above. He used to be like them, oblivious. Naive, ambitious, believing that trust and talent would carve a straight path to success. Until the night it all collapsed. Julian's ascent at Vortex Media had been meteoric. At 34, he was executive director of global operations, orchestrating campaigns worth tens of millions. His clients adored him, investors trusted him, and internally, he had the kind of political finesse that earned loyalty without envy. Or so he thought. Mara Duval entered his life the way predators enter, silent, elegant, underestimated. She was an acquisitions consultant, charming and precise, with a reputation for closing impossible deals. Julian had mentored her, shared secrets, opened doors. And she had smiled, taken notes, laughed at his jokes, earned his trust, and then betrayed him. The email arrived at 2:17 a.m., contract transferred. Your division liabilities assigned. Termination pending. Regards, Mara. It wasn't just business, it was personal. In the same breath, she had revealed his private communications with clients, their off-the-record conversations, and sensitive financial strategies to the board. Overnight, Julian's empire crumbled. Clients fled. Investors pulled out. And Julian discovered that Mara had been seeing someone close to him, not romantically, but strategically. Alex Brandt, his closest colleague and longtime friend, had colluded. Julian felt something he hadn't in years, helplessness. Rage curled in his chest like a living thing. But Julian was never truly helpless. He retreated into the shadows, gathering information, letting the city's pulse guide him. The neon streets became his allies, every alleyway a potential observation post. He learned everything about Mara and Alex, habits, schedules, vulnerabilities. Mara drank exclusively at a rooftop bar in Midtown on Thursdays. Alex jogged along the East River at 6:30 a.m. sharp. Their worlds were public, but their secrets were not. Julian's revenge would not be subtle, it would be surgical. He began small, leaked confidential information back at key clients, planting seeds of doubt in Mara's new ventures, exposing minor financial discrepancies to regulators. Each strike was measured, precise. The thrill of control returned. But Julian needed more than small victories. He needed psychological dominance. Julian rented a modest apartment in Soho, blending into the city's undercurrent. Cameras, drones, and digital surveillance became his eyes. He studied their patterns, mimicking movements, orchestrating near coincidences that made them paranoid. He sent anonymous notes to Mara. Do you trust everyone you think you know? She laughed at first, thinking it a prank. By the third message, she was uneasy. Alex began noticing discrepancies in schedules, someone always a step ahead. But he couldn't trace it. Julian had disappeared into the city's veins like smoke. The city itself became part of his revenge, flashing billboards, carefully leaked stories, subtle social engineering. Julian controlled information, manipulated perception, turned their arrogance into self-doubt. It wasn't just business. Julian remembered the night he had found his fiancée, Serena, with Alex. The two had laughed as if mocking him, blind to the fact that he had overheard everything. Serena had been with him for 5 years, and Julian had thought their bond unbreakable. That night, his personal world fractured. He realized revenge had to encompass both personal and professional betrayal. Mara would lose credibility, Alex would lose his allies, and Serena, though she had left the city, would see the consequences of underestimating him. Julian spent weeks orchestrating the perfect scenario. Public exposure, private manipulation, the illusion of accidents. Every move calculated. Every detail, mirrored against his own betrayal, executed to perfection. It began with Alex. Julian orchestrated a conference call, carefully timed. Alex believed he was pitching a major client. Instead, Julian had leaked internal mismanagement to the client beforehand. Alex's presentation fell apart spectacularly. Emails, recordings, and financial discrepancies made it clear he was incompetent, reckless, and betrayed the company. Mara followed next. Julian anonymously tipped regulators about minor breaches in her compliance, small enough to appear accidental, yet consequential. Investors began questioning her integrity. Her career, built on charm and precision, began unraveling. The city watched silently. Skyscrapers reflected his obsession. Neon lights and glass surfaces mirrored his own face, calm, controlled, merciless. Finally, Julian reached the apex. He arranged a private meeting with Mara and Alex at a deserted rooftop in Tribeca, under the guise of a reconciliation pitch. The night was cold, the wind cutting, the skyline glittering like a crown. He didn't need weapons. Words were sharper. "You both underestimated me," Julian said, stepping from the shadows. "Not just my intellect, my patience." Mara's eyes widened. Alex's jaw tightened. He revealed the extent of his surveillance, every meeting, every conversation, every misstep exposed. Mara and Alex realized the scope. Julian had orchestrated the downfall of both their careers while remaining untouchable. He had turned their arrogance into their ruin. "You thought I was destroyed," Julian continued, "but you created the perfect environment for me to become unstoppable." The wind swept over the rooftop. For a moment, silence reigned. They were powerless. Julian left that night, victorious. Mara's reputation was in tatters, Alex's career in ruins. Serena had heard whispers through the media of his meticulous revenge. But the victory was hollow. He had become the very thing he hated, obsessive, ruthless, morally ambiguous. Walking through Times Square, he watched the reflections in the glass of storefronts. Julian no longer recognized the man staring back, cold, calculating, unfeeling. His hands, once instruments of creation and negotiation, were now tools of destruction. The city pulsed around him, indifferent. The neon lights reflected on his skin, sharp angles carving shadows across his face. He had won, but at a cost: his humanity, his peace, and the illusion of morality. A text buzzed on his phone, an anonymous number. "Congratulations. But every empire built on vengeance leaves its owner empty." Julian smiled. The darkness in him didn't frighten him, it was part of the power. Part of the city. The streets never slept. And neither would he. The end.